Okay, this is a walkthrough video for Higher Paper 1, Set 7. That doesn't mean you're in the 7th set, it is the 7th pack of exams Edexcel have made for Higher. So, question 1. So, we should know, we add the powers. So, that's like 7 to the 1, so we add the powers. That's 7 to the power 8. Because it's a 1 mark answer, there's no need to do working out for this. So when it's in the bracket, that's the same as 4 power 7 times 4 to the power 7. So we add those powers, that's 4 to the 14. Let's look at B. Well, we know when we divide, we minus the powers. So we know the top has to be 5 to the power 10 divided by 5 to the power 6. This is what we have. So you can see we need n plus 3 to equal 10. That is worth a method mark here, and you could quite easily see n equals 7. Right, this is highest common factor, so this is the biggest number or factor that goes into those 3 numbers. So you need to be strategic with this. I would find the factors of 42 first. So we will know that's 142. Remember, they come in pairs. Let's see, 3 and 14. Because if you know the divisibility rules of 3, you should know 3 automatically goes into 42, because 4 add 2 equals 6, which is divisible by 3. Therefore, 3 is a factor. Right, that's a bit of random knowledge for you. Now we know 6 and 7, and then we have 2 and 21. That's a good start. Now I know 147 seems like a really large number. Now we could see if 3 is a factor of 147 by seeing if it divides by 3. So 3 is into 14 is 4, remainder 2, and that would be 9. So 147, we have 3 and 49. We don't really need to do 1 and 147 because 147 does not go into 42. All we need to do is try these numbers here. Now we could ignore the even numbers because the even numbers will not go into 147 because that is odd. So the next odd number we can try is 7. So let's try 7 into 147, and you can see that goes into twice and 1. Making 1 here. So that's 7 and 21. Now that means 21 is a factor and 7 is a factor, and 21 you can see matches with this, and we can discount 14, 42 and 6 because they're even numbers. So far we know 7 and 21 and 3 are common factors, but 21 so far is the highest. So we should just start with trying to divide 21 into 252. So 21 into 25 goes in once, remainder 4, and 2 21s go into 42. So for 252, 12 and 21 is a factor, but you can see from here that 21 must be the highest common factor, and that's your 2 marks achieved. So let's go down to question 3. The total weight of 3 identical video games is 525 grams. Work out the total weight of 5 of these video games. So we can say 3v, I'm going to use this as a ratio question, is 525. We're going to use something called a unitary method. So we're going to bring that down to 1 by dividing by 3. Divide this by 3. So if your mental math skills is not that great, use a bus stop. 3 into 5 is 1, remainder 2. 3 into 22 is 7, remainder 1. 3 into 15 is 5. So that's 175. Now we need 5 video games. Let's put W for weight there. So we just multiply the 1 by the 5 here, because this is a form of or type of direct proportion. Now, easy way to times by 5 is the same as timesing by 10 and then dividing by 2. So what's 1750 divided by 2, and then you could work that out, but that is just going to be 875. So the answer is 875 grams. So that's a nice 2 marks again. Let's do question 4, a very nice ratio problem. We've got the ratio 357 and the perimeter is 90. Make it clear that this is what we need to answer. So we're sharing in ratios, so we add up the ratio here. That equals 15. We should know 90 divided by 15 is 6. We have 357. We're looking for the longest side, so technically we only need to multiply this by 6. So this is 42, but we should do it all to double check our answer is correct. And that is multiplied by 6, and all these added together does make 90, so we worked out everything perfectly. So the answer is 42. Let's go to question 5. Now let's look at this algebra question. So the total number of stamps in the 3 packets is n. Write down an equation for n in terms of x. So we're going to have n equals, now here we've got the small packet is x, we plus the medium packet, that's x plus 3, and add x plus 4. Now we add the like terms, so n equals 3x, and then we add the integers. We've got a plus 3 and a plus 4, so that simplifies to plus 7. Perfect. That's a straightforward 2 marks, and those should be bankers. Let's leave this here. There's a total of 61 stamps. Now the total stamps equals n, remember, so we substitute that out. We've got now 61 equals 3x plus 7. So minus 7, that's 54 equals 3x. We divide by 3, so x should equal 18. Now let's see, what is the medium packet? The medium packet is x plus 3. The medium packet. So we need to do 18 plus 3 to get that answer, and that's 21. And that will get you the full method marks and the answer mark. Now you get a method mark for getting up to here, and that's your second method mark for 18 equals x, and 21 is your answer mark. That's why it's important to lay out your work clearly so the examiner can give you 3 out of 3 marks very easily. Let's go down to question 6. Remember, standard form is a number between 1 and 10. 10 to the power of a number. So this has to be 7.5. And that answer will be 7.5. If you're not sure, let's put the decimal point here. And times in by 10. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's times 10 to the power 4. Right, so don't worry about the words, just have a look. All we know is 1 picosecond is 10 to the power minus 12 seconds, and we're working out how long it takes to make 75,000 simple calculations. Now our answer from before is going to help. So that means we're going to multiply this number by 10 to the power of 12. Just writing this will give you your method mark. Now remember, we're multiplying the same bases, so we can add the indices. So what's 4 add minus 12? Remember, plus and minus next, which means it's a minus, so we get 4 minus 12 equals 8. So that is 7.5 times 10 to the power minus 8 seconds. Now let's look at question 7. Sally got 32 out of 80 in a maths test. She wants to know what's a higher percentage, maths or English. Now key, you must show you're working. So we need to turn 32 out of 80 into a percentage. Now you could just multiply that by 100 to work that out. So that's going to be 32,000 divided by 80. Now we can cancel the zeros. Now how many 8's go into 320? But I know that answer is going to be 40. So maths is 40%. So communicate, Sally scored higher in maths. Sometimes you might not know how to do that, but you could also just try and find an equivalent fraction. So I could also do it like this. So if I divide top and bottom by 8, I get 4 over 10. Some of you might know that's 40% instantly, or you should know. Or if not, go to 4 over 10. And we know if it's out of 100, because that's out of 100%, then that's 40 over 100, and you should definitely know that equals 40%. Either of those are working out or method is fine. So there's your M1 and your answer there. So if you read the question, you can tell this is a speed, distance and time type question, where D is 72, the time is 120, but you can see it's hours and minutes, and you can see the speed. We're looking for speed, which is in kilometers per hour, so we have to convert this all into hours. So we know 20 minutes equals 1/3 of an hour, so we have time equals 1 1/3, and in this case it might just be easier to change that to 4 over 3 as an improper fraction. We've got distance equals 72, so speed equals 72 divided by 4 over 3, and if we do keep change flip when we're dividing, that's the same as 72 divided by 1 divided by 4 over 3, which is keep change flip this. So 72 times 3 is going to be, oh, careful here, it's going to be 216 divided by 4. So if you're not sure, use a bus stop. Falls into 21 is 5, remainder 1. The right answer is 54. That's a quite nice 3 marks. Oh, now let's have a look at question 9. The mean of 6 numbers is 40. 3 of the numbers are 102, 60 and 30. Each of the remaining 3 numbers is equal to x. Find the value of x. So we know, create a formula, the mean equals all the numbers, and the 3 remaining numbers is equal to x, so we can say plus 3x divided by 6 is going to equal the mean. So if we work backwards and we understand this well, we know 6 times 40 must be the total amount. So that is 240. So 240 should equal this, Now we just need to solve this. So let's minus 192 on both sides to get 48 equals 3x. Let's divide by 3. X equals 16. And that's the correct answer. You could always double check by substituting it in, but you should be confident with what you're doing. And that's a nice extra 3 marks. So that question is just problem solving with the mean. I believe here will get you a method mark. This stage should get you another method mark. And of course a 16 is your answer mark. So it's important to pick up all the method marks you can. Now let's look at question 10. You should love these type of questions. So we know it's inverse proportion, so we know it's going to be y equals k over x cubed. Now if it was direct proportion, it would be y equals kx cubed, but this should make sense. This is what we need, the inverse. So all we do here is now substitute the numbers for y in, because we have y equals 24 and x equals 2, because we need to find k, the constant of proportion. K over 2 cubed. So then we get 24 equals k over 8. Let's multiply both sides by 8. So 8 times 24 is going to be 160 plus 32, so that's 192 equals k. Now let's rewrite the formula for method mark. So we're going to get y equals 192 over x cubed. So now all we need to do is find the value of x when y equals minus 3, so we sub that in. Just because space wise, we're going to get y equals minus 3 equals 192 over x cubed. Now remember in the exam, try to line up your work neatly so the examiner can follow your work. Now we're going to multiply x cubed to the top. We get minus 3x cubed equals 192. Let's divide out by the minus 3. Get x cubed equals minus 64. Now hopefully we know how to cube root that. And so we get x equals minus 4. And hopefully you know minus 4 times minus 4 times minus 4 is going to give us the minus 64. So that is a very nice 4 marks. Lots of method marks again here. Right, let's move down to question 11. So ABCD is a regular pentagon. Regular means all the sides are equal and all the angles, interior angles, are equal. So we can answer these types of questions using these 3 angle facts. You should know these, and I in general just like to apply an exterior angle formula because the numbers are just easier. We just need to find one interior angle. If it's asking for the sum, which means the total angles, we use this formula. But here we go. So the exterior angle, that's the exterior. It's a 5-sided shape. So I'm going to write this here. 360 divided by 5 equals 72. That is the exterior angle. So we know that's 72. This is a straight line which is 180. This is where this formula comes in. So that angle must be 180 minus 72, which is 108. And that's the answer to this, 108 degrees. Now let's see what part B is. calculate the size in degrees of the reflex angle DFE. CDF equals 70, FEA equals 85. So let's go back to the diagram and put that information in. So this question will throw off a lot of people because it says find the angle DFE, which you would assume is this one. But it does say it's a reflex one, so what you're really looking for is this one, because it's bigger than 180 and less than 360. Now CDF is 70 here. Now we know the total interior angle is 108, so we do 108 minus 70 to get 38. So this angle here is 38. FEA, so the angle in the middle, that's the angle FEA, is 85. So we have to do 108 minus 85, which is going to be 23. So this angle here is going to be 23. So we've got to find, let's say, X here, and that's angles in a triangle. So we've got to do 180 minus 38 minus 23, which is 180 minus 61, which equals to 119. So let's zoom into that actually. So that's 119, and that's not going to help, so let's zoom back out. Now we need to find this angle here, because 119 is obtuse, not reflex. So our last step is obviously going to be 360 angles around a point minus 119. And if you want to do this like this, or you can do it mentally, that's fine, but do be careful, people make a lot of mental errors. So that's 1, 4, and so that's 241. Hopefully that makes sense to you all, and this answer is 241. But if you get the majority of the working out, I'm sure you'll get 3 out of 4, and that 241 will catch a lot of people out, I believe. Right, let's look at this. We have 32 students. We have a ratio of left to right 1 to 7. It's asking for the number of right-handed students. So we have the ratio 1 and 7. So we need to add that together to find the total amount that is shared. Let's do 32 divided by 8 to find the value of one part, which is 4, and all we need to do there is now times that by 4, times that by 4, so we get 4 and 28. Now there's 4 and add 28 make the original number of 32. It does, so that's just a quite good double check that our working is correct. It does say right-handed students, so we need to say 28. Now, there's a Sajid makes a scale model of a bus. He uses a scale of 1 to 32. And Sajid's scale model is 45. So this is going to be 45. So obviously scale is direct proportion, so that's times 45. So that's going to be times 45, 32 times 45, and work that out. 2 times 5 is 10, 5 times 3 is 15, add the 1 is 16, 4 times 2 is 8, put the placeholder in, and 4 times 3 is 12. That's step 1 working out, so 0, 4, carry the 1, 4, 1. That is definitely a part of the method. Now Chitra makes a scale model of the same bus, but she uses a scale of 1 to 48. So work out the length of her model bus. Can you see she uses a larger scale? So her model bus should be smaller than Sajid's, the real life size. Now, I hope this makes sense. So in a way we're going back. Now I think I've just drawn a picture here so it actually will make some more sense to you. So this is the real length of the bus. This is not to scale. Now we know Sajid's bus is 45 centimeters, and he's 45 times 32 will make up the size of the bus. Now remember, Chitra's scale model is 1 to 48, so something times 48 is going to equal the size of the bus, and her bus is going to be smaller because the scale is larger. So hopefully this makes it clearer to why we will need to do 48 into 1440. First step is I've got to do 48 into 144, which we should know is 3. Now if you're not great at this, if you just do 48, add 48, add 48, just in case there could be a remainder. 8 add 8 add 8 is 24, carry the 2, that's 144, so that's perfectly free, there's no remainder, so we know the answer is 30, and hopefully that makes sense to you. The wording is a little bit funny on this, but I hope that is manageable. So that was 37 plus the 5, we're now on 42 marks, which is getting closer and closer to the 7. Okay, so we're working out the compound interest for 2 years on 1%, and the question does ask total interest gained after 2 years. So the typical error on this is people will write down the total amount of money in Evan's account, and I can see why that would happen in the exam, because you do rush things and do not read the questions carefully. So we're just looking at the total interest only, not the total amount. So 1% per annum, so we need to find 1%. We know that's divided by 100, and you should know that instantly really that's going to be £75, because that's after the first year. Now be careful here, that means at the end of the first year he's actually got this in his bank in total, so we need to find 1% of this amount. This is pounds, remember, so that's going to be 75.75, and that's pounds. So we add these two amounts together, line it up correctly, and that's going to be 150.75 pence. Perfect, that's another 3 marks, so we're on to 45. Now let's see question 14. The first 3 terms are a Fibonacci sequence is A and B, A plus B. So a Fibonacci sequence is the first a term is created by adding that term to the previous term, so that's A plus B. So this is the first, second, third. So the fourth term is going to be A plus B add B. So that's going to be A plus 2B. And if you just write that, that is showing. The fifth term is going to be the fourth term add the third term. So that's going to be 2A plus 3B. So the sixth term is the fifth, add the fourth term, and you should be able to see that's 3a plus 5b. That's a nice 2 marks, and obviously write that there, and you've got your 2 marks there. Right, now here's a bit of problem solving here. Given that the third term is 7 and the sixth term equals 29, find the value of a and b. Well, if you look up here, the third term is a plus b. So this is your application skills, and we know that equals 7. Now the sixth term, we've said it's 3a plus 5b equals 29. Now can you see that's a simultaneous equation? If I label that 1, that equation 2, I'm going to multiply this one by 3. So 1 times 3 equals 3a plus 3b equals 21. And we're going to call that equation 3. So let's line this up nicely. Right, so the signs are the same here, so we can minus these terms all across here. 3a minus 3a is 0, so that cancels out. 5b minus 3b is 2b, and 29 minus 21 is 8. We should know instantly b is 4. Now if we know b equals 4, we can sub into any of the equations, and we're going to use this one. So 4 add what is going to be 7, so we know that's going to be 3, so b equals 4 and a equals 3. Right, so getting up to question 14 correct will get you 50 marks, and that's your grade 7 easily achieved. Now let's read this question 15. Have a read of that. There's probabilities of Mohammed being late and Helen being late. Sam multiplies them to say that the probability that they will both be late tomorrow is 0.075. What assumption has Sam made? Well, when you multiply probabilities, the assumption you make is that they are independent events, and that is your 1 mark. Okay, let's look at question 16. This is like an indices type question, and it's just applying your skills. So step 1, you should know 3 to the power 4 equals 81. Right, because 3 squared equals 9, 3 cubed equals 27, and so forth. But how are we going to get 1 over 81? So can you remember, it's actually 3 to the power minus 4 equals 1 over 81, because that's what we're looking for here. So if we line this up so that you can see what's going on, this 2x has to equal minus 4 to make this equation work. So we can just simply say minus 4 equals 2x. I'm sure that will get you a method mark. And you should know then that x equals minus 2. And that is question 16. So that should take you to 53 marks now. So a few more questions correct and we've got our 8. Cumulative frequency. So this is a cumulative frequency graph. So the frequency must add up. That's what cumulative means. So you're going to go from 4, add 12 is 16, add the 26 is 42, add the 42 is 84, add the 12 is 96, and add the 4 is 100. That makes a total of 100 people, so we've done that correctly. That needs to be worth 1 mark doing that in itself. So now we just need to plot. So it's cumulative frequency, so we plot the endpoint, and I do think you get the method mark for that. So we plot the endpoints. So we've got to go to 20 to 4. Now be careful with the scale. Each square is worth 2. So 20 to 4. Mind my accuracy. Now 40 goes to 16. 60 is 42. Remember, we have to plot the endpoints for cumulative frequency. 80 is 84. Now at T100 that should be 96, and 120 is 4, and we join it up with a smooth curve. And that is easy marks if you remember what you're doing. So use your graph to find an estimate for the number of these people who spent longer than 70 minutes in the coffee shop. So you should be professional. Let's go to 70 minutes, draw a dotted line. Now go across. Now obviously use a ruler, guys. They do give you a range of values for this. So here we can see this is 66. That's 66 people. Now we know the total is 100. So longer has to be this. Here to here, because here to here is less than 70 minutes. So 100 minus 66, you should get a method mark for just doing that, equals 34. And in the Maths scheme, they say they accept an answer between 36 and 38. Now, this is because my graph is not very good. So, when you do this on A4 paper, you can see here, my line isn't that smooth, right? It's not very good, but you can actually see it is probably closer to 100 minus 64, which does make 36. So answer between that range will get you your 2 marks, and I hope you're happy with that. Question 80, a more challenging ratio problem, which these types of questions are becoming more common. Ratio with a bit of problem solving. So let's start with this ratio. Now the largest share is £540 more than the smallest share. So this is a smaller share here, I'm going to say S, and that's the largest share. Now can you see the difference between 2 and 7 is 5. So what I mean is, if we double this ratio, can you see the difference between the smallest and largest is now 10? So what we need to do is we want the difference to be 540. So all we need to do is 540 divided by 5, which equals now if you can't do that, use the bus stop method. So 5 into 5 is 1, 5 into 4 is 0, carry the 4, 5 into 40 is 8, so that's the answer, 108. Now hopefully guys this will make sense to you, so I'll do another example. If I do 2 times 10 here, these ratios becomes 20, 30, 70. And can you see the original difference was 5? And if I times that by 10, can you see the difference here is 50? So we need to multiply all this, the ratio 2 to 3 to 7 by 108 to get the difference of 540 between the two people. Smallest and largest, so times 108 times 108. The 3 we need to multiply by 108 to get the value of the total money shared. So 2 times 108 is 216. 3 times 108 is 324. Now 7 times 108 is 756. So we need to add those 3 up. So do work those out carefully in the exam. Many people do lose marks because of calculation errors. You'll be surprised in how common that is, and that will cost you, or could cost you, a grade sometimes. So 6 add 1, 2 add 2, 4, 5 is 9, 2 add 3 is 5, add 7 is 12, and that total amount is 1296. Hopefully you can see the difference between 216 and 756 is 540, so we know that must be correct. Happy days. Now I think we're pretty close to our grade 8 now. Once we hit 19, that is our grade 8 achieved for sure. Now practicing these papers will consolidate your key skills at mastering the first half of the paper and interleaving your skills. So I highly recommend doing these past papers. Right, let's be careful there because we want to simplify this into this form, but k is a surd. So let's simplify root 48 first. So root 48, the biggest squared number that goes into 48 should be 16. That's the square root of 16 times the square root of 3. That does make 48. So that becomes 4 root 3. Now let's look at the square root of 108, the biggest square number that goes into 108. So if you write the squared numbers to the side, that might help you. Now it's easier to find the bigger square number, so I know that is root 36. So root 36 times root 3 equals square root of 108. So let's simplify that. So we've got 6 root 3 now. Now we've got 4 root 3 add 6 root 3, and that equals 10 root 3. Now this question says k is a surd, and we need this root 3 to become root 6, so it's important to use our equivalent fraction skills because we're not quite done yet. Hope this makes sense. 10 over root 3, 10 root 3 divided by 1 is still 10 root 3. Now can you see if I multiply top and bottom by root 2, this is how I do this question, that becomes 10 root 6 over root 2, and it's asking us for the form of k root 6, so that means k has to be 10 over root 2. So that's kind of like a thinking surds question. That's a bit cheeky, that one, but quite nice in its own way. Right, that's easier grade 8 achieved by now, but all these skills are really going to help you pick up marks in the second half of the paper, which is how you're going to get grades 7 to 9. Now histograms, you know, comes up quite a lot, so let's have a read of this. So this histogram question, and all histogram questions, you have to understand this formula and apply it, which is frequency density equals frequency divided by the width, which is the width of the bars. Some people use this triangle, which is helpful. Now, people make mistakes with this because you need to understand that frequency is the area of the bar. So in this case, the frequency, because that's 7 cyclists, took 80 minutes or less. That's here or here. The area of that bar is 7. Now that width is 10. Can you see that width is 10? 10 times what makes 7? That has to be 0.7, the frequency density. Now that should make sense, because FD equals 7 divided by 10. So FD equals 0.7. Remembering this key fact will help you answer many questions. Now it says work out an estimate for the number of cyclists who took more than 95 minutes to finish the race. So this is what I meant by the area of the bars. So that's 95 minutes. Now, this is 0.7, helps you work out the scale. So that's 1. That point is 1.2. This point is 2.2. The number of cyclists is the frequency. So let's do this bar first. So we've got this width of 20 here. And so we need to do 20 times 1.2. So if you can't remember how to multiply decimals, we can just change that to 20 times 12, which equals 240, and put the decimal back. So that's 24. Now this bit is 5 and 2.2. Now 5 times 2.2, you should be able to do that anyway, and that's 11. So 24 add 11 equals 35, and that's the answer, 35. So that is a good few marks there, and that's going to be 3 marks because this reasoning should only be worth 1 mark. So can you see you're going to get a method mark here, a method mark for working out the frequency density, because you need that to find the estimate, and you'll find with experience all histogram questions just involves applying these skills. So why is it only an estimate in part I? So if you can see, this is essentially, if this was in a table, your table would be 70 to 80 with a frequency of 7, and that's the class width. And because essentially what I mean is this is group data, so the actual values between 95 and 120 are unknown. But it is a pretty reliable estimate. I mean, I think we're pretty close to getting grade 9 now with this, but it doesn't matter. Try to earn as many marks as you can and you'll get a good grade at GCSE Maths, especially if you work on all the skills that your maths teacher tells you to. You will up level your scores quite easily. Let's read this question now. C1 is the curve of equation y equals x squared minus 4x plus 4. L is a line of equation y equals 2x minus 4. They intersect at 2 points A and B. Calculate the exact length of A and B. So, essentially you've got a graph. That's the curve C. You've got y equals 2x minus 4. Is something like that. That is line L. They intersect at these points A and B. And you've got to work out that length, which I'm going to explain to you now. So, you should know those lines are going to intersect when x squared minus 4x plus 4, when those two equal. Now you rearrange that, so I'm going to minus the 2x plus 4 on both sides together, but do this step by step if you need to. I'm just doing this because I could run out of space for this question. So we get x squared minus 6x plus 8 equals 0. We factorise factors of 8 to make minus 6. That's got to be minus 2 and minus 4. So x equals 2, x equals 4. That is step 1. Now, because we had to find the length of AB, we do want to find the coordinates, so let's sub these into the easiest formula we can. So when x equals 2, I'm going to sub it into this one because that's easier. Y equals 0. And when x equals 4, 2 times 4 minus 4, y equals 4. Just so you can see what I'm doing there. Equals y. So we've got two coordinates, 4, 4 and 2, 0. So once we've got this, we can find a length AB. Now, if we look at this distance of x, the x coordinate, it goes from 2 to 4, so that length must be 2. And the perpendicular height goes from 0 to 4, so that height of B must be 4. Now that's a right angled triangle. So essentially we've got a triangle like this, A, B, that's 4 and 2, so we just use Pythagoras. A squared plus B squared equals C squared. So we have 2 squared plus 4 squared equals C squared. So that's 4 plus 16 equals C squared. 20 equals C squared. Now we square root both sides to find C. So C equals root 20. And that should be its exact length. Oh, and that's loads of marks. This is how you're going to get your grade 9. Let's see question 22. So let's look at question 22. We've got x equals a times 10 to the power of n, and a is in between the value of the square root of 10 and 10. Find in standard form an expression for x squared. So if we are essentially squaring both sides, this is what we're doing. Now this is, we're just adding this bit for understanding. This is what happens. So x squared is essentially a squared. Now remember, when we multiply powers with the same base, we just add the indices. So n add n is in fact 2n, not n squared, because that's a common error people make. So this is looking quite good now. Now hopefully up to here you should get a method mark at least. Now the key is standard form, the first number has to be between the numbers 1 and 10 times 10 to the power of something, right? I'm going to change a letter here because we've got 2n in the question. So a squared can easily be, because of this range, well, it's 100% going to be greater than 10, right? So we need to get rid of this a squared. So essentially, if we divide this by 10, because a can't be bigger than 10, this will guarantee that this value is going to be between 1 and 10. Now when we divide by 10, we've got to keep this the same, and that's the same as if we're dividing this one by 10, so we need to times this one by 10 to keep it the same. And if we times this by 10, that's like 10 to the 1, so we're adding the powers, so that becomes 10 to the 2n plus 1. So the answer in its simplest form and we're almost on to our very last question now, but you can see all the method marks you can pick up. Let's zoom out here. It says work out the size of DAC, and this looks like a circle theorem question because it's circles and angles. So what circle theorems can we apply? It does say show all your working. Now this doesn't say give reasons, so we're quite good here. So this is 90 because that's one of the circle theorems. Now if this is 25 here, we know the triangle ACB's got to equal 180, so we need to have 180 minus 90 minus 25, which makes this angle 65. Now does that give us any information? Well, that's 100 and 100. Angles around the point is 360, so these two must be 80. This angle here, 80 at 65, must be 35. Maybe I'll zoom in a bit. Now you have angles in the same segment. Some people call this the bow tie. Can you see the bow tie here? Let me draw that in for you. Now remember to give the reasons if you, and you can see this, we've got this triangle here because we've worked out these other angles. Angles in the triangle is 180, so you've got 180 now minus the 80 minus the 65, which equals 35, which is this angle DAC, and that's what they've asked for, and that's 35 degrees. and that should be perfectly acceptable, because as long as you've shown all your working.